Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Monday night, 8 p.m. The Online Darts Live Lounge returns. Myself, Bill Bars, Jack Garwood and Dan Simpson are here for the next couple of hours to talk all things darts over the last week. Gentlemen, good evening. How are we?
All right. Yeah. All is well.
You all good job? We're a bit quiet there for a change.
Toasty, look at the state of me. This lighting's not doing me any favours.
It's warm, mate. It's warm up here.
We went to the beach this afternoon, and I'm like, nah. Obviously, I was at Anfield yesterday, bright in the sun. You can see where my watch was.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh, lad. That's a bit much, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
Guess you forgot to take their watch off before they put the sun cream on.
Oh, lad, that's...
Yeah.
Goal boy error from the gob.
No, it's a good job I'm not reffing this week.
You'd be a distraction for the players, I would have thought. They'd like to start reflecting off you.
Had enough of that last week.
I was going to say, the production crew would have to change all the colour of their lights.
You piss off, you're ginger.
Hey, I'm looking good, though. See? I'm sensible. When it's 35 degrees, us gingers, we hibernate. We don't go out in the sun.
I've used so much Factor 50 this summer and I'm still getting burnt. It's a joke.
Well,
see, I can solve everyone's problem by living in Teesside, where the smog that resides just above us, just the thick layer of smog, I can just sit out there all day. No one's ever been sunburnt in Teesside. The smog protects us.
To be fair, God, now you are an official southerner. It is nice down here in the summer, isn't it?
Then I was in Liverpool yesterday where I got burnt.
Still
90 minutes to get out of the city. I got in the car at 2:45. I was like, oh yeah, this will do lovely. Like, absolutely raced out the ground at the end of it. Like, yeah, flew back. Car was parked. I was like, yes, this is bliss. I'll drop my brother in Nottingham for 5. I'll be home by 8:30. 10 to 10, I walked in the door.
To be fair, I was in Southport all week from sort of, I only travelled back, what day is it? I travelled back at the weekend anyway. And the weather's been ace over there as well. The weather's mint, isn't it? This is where we need darts to be, you know, we need some slight amendments and adjustments to see if we can bring in some more outdoor darts going on. Outdoor events.
Like in Dubai.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the chat room. Dale is in. Owen, how we doing? Shelty is in. Sam, Matthew, how do? Daniel, Wayne, Mark, Cameron, how we doing, mate? Jason, Warren, Mark is in. Dale, I will star yours so we can come back to them. How we doing? Connor, James. Cameron says, what a tomato gob is. Evening, Bob. Evening, Josh. How we doing? Tom, hope you are good. Yeah, look, there's never a dull moment in darts. Remember back in the day when August used to be the month off and the quiet month?
Yeah, it's not, is it? Like, because it is like you know, because we all have a little look, don't we, at the beginning of the month, and you know, as to what's going on and where do I have to save some time and what do I need to do for this, that, and you go into August thinking there's nothing really goes on, and then you look and you think, oh God, no, it's as busy as ever, isn't it? There's an event over here, and we're going to Australia, and we're going to New Zealand, and we're doing this, and then there's women's series events, and there's every you think, oh no, there's just no break. There is no off season on Planet Darts.
No, absolutely not. Let's go to Niedenhausen first of all. It was the penultimate women's series block of events, and it was an interesting one. I wouldn't say it was the best weekend. Look, it was a great weekend for Noelin and Bo, but as an overall, before we look at it and pick at bits, it wasn't the best weekend for the women.
Not overall. Like you couldn't really. It's not a great collection in terms of like the overall quality that was on display. There were some brilliant moments. You know, there was some really, really good darts played, but that was very much individual performances here and there. I don't know. I'm sure somebody who's much more of a statistician than I will know what the mean averages were. But having a quick, scan down and looking just at the amount of averages that starts with 5 and 6s, is a bit alarming in terms of what the overall standard was. But there were some very, very good individual performances, but yeah, a bit underwhelming in terms of the depth of that, which is a shame because we've talked a great deal about the depth of talent on that tour, and it underwhelmed a little bit this week.
Yeah. Look, going into it, look, Bo was obviously head and shoulders clear in the rankings, and she won two of the titles. But it was a great weekend for Noah Lynch. She goes into second, provisioning an Ali Pally and a Grand Slam spot. Great weekend for Noah Lynch in Niedenhausen.
Yeah, keep winning, keep accumulating, keep chipping away at those landmarks and aspirations, isn't it? Look, we've got a Grand Slam on the line, we've got World Championships on the line. Playing some lovely stuff.
It's tightening right up though as well, because we did see at least a couple of deep runs as well from Lisa Ashton at the last block, and what that's done is that has just compacted that top five. So Lisa Ashton has now got herself up to 8,100, with Suzuki above her on 8,004, Fallon on 8,008. So it's really starting to stack up and tighten up. So the next block of events, I think, is going to get really interesting, because it could take one person to go on a run, but an early exit from any of that block of five there, and they could be in trouble because it's getting so tight in there.
Yeah, look, between Noah and Lisa, it's one tournament win, depending on who you play, semi-finals and finals. So potentially that last block of women's series is going to be exciting, and there is a lot on the line for the women here.
Yeah, that's how we like it. We'd rather there be something on the line going into the last event than it be done deal, right? Who's going to extend it all over by weekend one? Like, it's far more interesting when there is stuff going on the line. Obviously, the players themselves won't feel like that. They want to get the job done as soon as possible and get out of there. But yeah, the more on the line as the events go on, the better.
And realistically, unless we get some really, really odd results, in the next block, it's going to go to the last day as well. Just because of how tight it is, there will still be twists and turns that could potentially happen right up until the draw on the last day, and then we'll see exactly what everybody needs to do to get into these various different slots. But there's certainly opportunities there, and there's spots at big events there to be had. And it's not just about, like, let's not forget, it's not just about the fact that you've got to second. It's what comes after that as well, because you have got the potential of bigger and better sponsorships and all the other different things that go alongside from being featured on more prestigious television events.
Yeah, no, look, 100%. And look, we know that obviously Bo is top of the rankings, but her World Championship spot will go for the match play win. We already know that she's going to decline that. She said that at the match play. So it will be 2 and 3 in the race for Ali Pally, which is hotting up. Look, at this point, I'm guessing for all of that chase impact, the Grand Slam is the bonus. Priority is the World Championship because of everything that goes with the World Championship. Yes, the Grand Slam is great, but the Worlds has to be the priority.
Yeah, I understand. The first round exit prize money is far more superior at the World Championships. The exposure, that everything that goes on at that time of year, 100%, that is far more valuable. Controversially, I think it is easier for an upset to be sprung at the Grand Slam. The shorter format means you can get people, you can catch them a little cold. They don't have the chance to reset really as you get with set play and crack on and go from that way. But
is it $5,000? Grand Slam if you finish fourth?
Pass.
I think it is.
I think it's
five, then 8, and then from memory, I can't remember. But yeah, so monetarily, Worlds is way ahead, isn't it?
Plus the sponsorship that comes of it. Sky Sports at Christmas when everyone's off work, get to pay attention to that, Ali Pally and all that buzz. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it as the Civic in Wolverhampton, does it?
Well, you're right, and it just as much as some people, I love the Grand Slam, I think it's class, but it doesn't carry just the prestige within its name that being able to say like the World Championships. Everybody knows, no matter whether you know anything about darts or not, you know the World Championships is the biggest thing, don't you? Just because that's what it is.
Unless you're an NBA player, but less about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some newbies in the chat room. Matador is in. Phil is in. Chris, my tribal chief, absolutely. Naz is in. Matthew says, Phil, have you asked Fallon and Lisa about Bo's comments about playing men? I have not, Lisa. Look, Fallon her opinion hasn't changed. She wants to play against the men. She's made that clear for a number of years that she prefers playing against the men. So I think, look, we touched on what Bo said the other week. We won't go over it, but yeah, Fallon is completely the opposite, and she's always said that, boys.
Good. I still think the long-term aspirations of the sport should be one big open category at the very, very top of the game.
Agreed.
Yeah, but these women that are in the hunt now, thinking time between now and the next one could play a part as well, because the cogs start turning. You start going into the week before thinking, right, out of these 4 events, what do I need? How much do I need? And everything like that. So mental strength could be a big part going into this last one.
It's also getting the practice right. There isn't a great deal of the players that play on the Women's Series that are full-time dart players. Now that they're in with a shout with just one weekend to go, you'd hope that there is a commitment to ramping up the ante in terms of practice, if that's at all possible. Take some extra time. Make sure you get your preparation right. Make sure you're ready, because the stupidest thing is that this could all be decided by 4 presses of a button.
Yeah, depending on what quarter you go into and X, Y, and Z. We saw some stinkers of draws for early on for players, and is this the point now where next year should the top 8 on the order of merit be seeded?
100%.
Yeah, I think there's hard to argue against it, isn't it?
Yeah. How are we doing, Weekly Darts Cast? I'm guessing it's Lau. Hope you are good, mate. Yeah, but look, I'm pleased that although it was what was a poor weekend in terms of standard, that there is a lot to play for going into. And I agree with Chris's comment there as well, that I think the top 8 should be in the UK Open, and I think potentially that may be one of the changes that Matt Porter hinted at last time we spoke to him, when perhaps we do see some changes to the UK Open qualifying criteria.
I agree completely with that comment, providing we retain a route for the likes of myself and your good selves to qualify as well. As long as we retain that, then I would 100% say, yeah, absolutely, top 8 goes into the UK Open. I think it makes complete sense.
Lendl says even the top 16. Yeah, there's an argument, but I certainly think there should be some seeding on the order of merit for them. Connor, I will be. I just haven't sorted them out yet. But if you're calling it now, Bo can't be caught number 1. Who finishes 2 and 3?
Well, I'm going to be really adventurous and say it'll finish exactly as it is. It won't change. I think it'll be Nolan in number 2, and I think it'll be Fallon in number 3. I think a lot of the hard work has already been done. I think Nolan's got enough of a gap that picking up money, even here and there, will be enough. You won't need an event win. And Fallon, we know she's good when she's up against it and when the pressure comes on. So I think Nolan just retains that spot because she won't need to go and do too much to keep it. I think Fallon will just dig in and get it done.
Job?
Noelin and Lisa for me.
I'm going Fallon and Noelin. I'm going off last year when going into the last block, Fallon needed something and she produced her best. So I'm going Fallon, and I think Noelin finishes third for me. But look, it's going to be interesting, that's for sure. I genuinely can't wait for that last block to happen. From there, let's go into it. Let's do the World Series before we pick at the bits underneath that. Geraint Price back in the winner's circle, and beforehand, I don't think many would have picked the Iceman to go on and win, seeing the form that we've seen of late. I think is that a fair one?
I think you'd have had good odds if you did. I don't think many people did, but it just seems, and he does it. The problem with Geraint Price, or the current version that we keep seeing, is that he has got it. He can turn up and win what he wants, but it's how often he can come and do it. There's lots of like Gezi is back, but he comes back for a weekend and a week, and then he goes away again, and he comes back 3 months later, and he goes like. We'll see, I think, but I'm not convinced. Like even the performance that we saw over the weekend, and as much as even the BBC ran with a headline of how big the scoreline was in the final, the 8-1 win over Luca Littler. But I'm still not having it that convinces me he's back and he's going to be consistent. Just think he managed to put it together, and he's one of the best players in the world. But I still don't know how.
I don't get it either. Do you remember when he went on that big rant saying that he wasn't asked about exhibition events and he wasn't going to play it? And since then, he's won back-to-back World Series events.
The only thing he can get himself motivated for this year, isn't it?
He's been garbage everywhere else.
If it's ranked, he can't. Maybe it's because he cares too much about. Maybe that's because he does care about them, and he's stressing. He's working himself up. Like he's not. Maybe it's the pressure. But he seems to be, as soon as it's an exhibition, discounting the Premier League, he seems to be able to...
Hang on, don't discount the Premier League. This was just Premier League Australia.
Well, isn't it a Premier League is an exhibition? Now, I'm just saying he didn't particularly dominate, in the Premier League. That was not. He didn't particularly turn up at, in that form we saw at the weekend. But it's really, I think it's interesting because the form he seems to be displaying this year, it seems to be completely opposite to everything we've heard from him so far this year in interviews, in terms of what he enjoys, where he wants his focus to be, where he wants his direction to head, what he cares about, what he doesn't. So interesting.
Yeah, and look, I suppose when we look through it, Dimitri van den Berg was awful in his first round game, but then quarterfinals and semi-final played really, really well. But look, it's just a hard watch still. He's averaged 103 and 102 and a bit, but it's still an uncomfortable watch. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like a big performance.
Hang on, let's get it right. Everybody was awful in the first round. The best average was 95. And that was Twitter wrong.
And
everybody was awful first round. Like,
his average was 86.
Possibly the worst first round we've seen from the PDC in a long, long time. And the Aussies still couldn't get a win.
Well, we're going to come on to that after we've done the event, because there are plenty of talking points around that. But Dimitri, what's he got to do to turn this? Because I remember going back, it used to be exciting to watch, where now it's not. Look, he's a fabulous player, but it's just not easy on the eye.
But I think that it's gone on for such a long time now that it's almost like he's that battle of trying to get the crowd on, like, or like, no, the fans, if you like, the people at home watching excited, is like lost before he's hit the stage. And because a little bit, so like, and I'll put my hands up to this, like, I know I'm already preparing myself for what I think I'm about to see, whether he does it or not. Like, whether, you know, so I'm already in that mindset of like, oh, right, he's gonna come and he's gonna go slow again. It's going to be just like that, and it's going to be just like the UK Open again, isn't it? And I'm doing that to myself under my breath as he's dancing still, and I just think that it is then going to be difficult for him to turn that, you know, that around and reignite the public a little bit, because I think to a degree a lot of the damage is done in terms of people's opinions are quite set, and people they've already made their mind up before the dancing starts.
Yeah, I'm with Dan. I don't think it's going to change. And the problem is we've seen him flip-flop so much that even if he goes on this stint of playing pacey or excitable or enjoyable, part of it you're going to question, is it genuine now? Because we've seen so many different sides from him. And part of it is going to be like, right, well, actually, when it comes down to it, are you going to go back to your old shithousery to get over the line in something? And
again, and you just to follow on and bookend it, I think on top of that, you know, he could work and get everybody back, you know, and everyone's back in it thinking, yeah, this is brilliant, he's playing fast, this is class. And it's only going to take him literally to come to the hockey slowly and take a step back and re-summer or re-grip. And immediately everyone goes, right, at it again. Like, and I just think, like, and so I think, like, people have long memories, don't they? Too long sometimes, and people hang on to these things. So I almost think the damage is done, and even as I say, it will take one re-grip after he could play at a lovely pace for an entire game, step back, re-grip, have a bit of a think about it, and everyone and the likes of me will be going, oh, he's doing it again, he's just rubbish. Everyone starts losing it, and then he has to start all over again.
Yeah, look, it was fun. I'm going to play this clip because is Peter about to do it all again?
Yeah, it's quite easy because you just forget about it. You know, I've won loads of titles. It's not that I've got to win them. It's I want to win them because just for myself. Yeah. You know, I ain't got to prove a point to anybody. And yeah, I will be winning majors this year. I've been nicking Luke Humphrey's pocket money.
Look, when you come into these tournaments and everyone knows what you've done in your career and it's a glittering career, but when you're not winning games and the others are beating you, is that frustrating for yourself?
Yeah, it's frustrating, but you sort of doubt yourself when you're invited to, you know, the World Series to represent, you know, darts all around the world. It's very difficult. You know, you doubt yourself, especially when there's players out there. You think, you know, they should be here instead of me. But like, you know, it's my job to get out there and show why I am here, and you know, try and win this title.
Back winning majors this year and taking Luke Humphrey's pocket money.
Now that ain't the bit I want to focus on. If you don't think you're good enough to be there, then why are you accepting, you little shithead?
But no one's going to say no, are they?
Well, I mean, I can do it in one word if you want.
Yeah. Cha-ching.
I can do it in a noise or a hand gesture, however you want it. I can make it as accessible as you want. I can do it. Yeah, I mean, but I also think, I don't know, Peter's good at. Peter is very, very good, and I genuinely think he's one of the best ever at the playing the game and marketing snakebite, brand snakebite. And if he doesn't say those things, if he shrugs and says, well, I don't know, thinking another year, maybe get on the seniors, don't know, not sure. Like, if he says that, like, that isn't protecting, building. It's not on brand, is it, with brand snakebite? So I very much take it with a pinch of salt, but I have no. Yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? My assumption is he's playing the game, and good on him for it. Because I mean, let's be honest, we three fools are sat here talking about it now, aren't we? So whatever his intended was, it's worked because we're all having a chat about it. But I don't believe it for a second.
We've picked up on language like that, and when you have been outgoing and boisterous as you have for so long, the minute that changes, we're going to have you on it. Like Van Gerwen is no longer saying, if I turn up, I win. It's if I turn up, they know they've got a game on their hands. Like that's changed. There are doubts there. And if Peter Wright doesn't rock up and say something absolutely moronic, we're going to wonder what's wrong with him.
Yeah.
If he rocks up and has a sensible interview, we are going to question his health. Or if we're sleeping.
Yeah, look, it was interesting. I know on anyone that follows Gezi on Instagram, he had a touch of the jet lag, and the final day he was up for a McDonald's breakfast at 4:45 in the morning, which was funny. He then goes on and wins. Let's play what Gezi said after he won.
Yeah, I mean, when you put him under pressure and constant pressure, which I think I'd done, then he started missing a couple of doubles. Maybe one or two legs could have gone his way, but I just kept the pressure on him. And then when you miss those doubles, which I have done in the past and cost me matches, and I'll check him out. But yeah, doesn't matter if it's 8-1, 8-7, 8-0, as long as I get a win.
You had a real aura around you in the final as well. It seemed to be the old you. The celebrations were back. What changed?
Probably just playing Luke, you know. I know I need to G myself up, get myself ready for the game, which I probably haven't done over the last couple of weeks, couple of months. I just haven't been able to motivate myself. But then when you play someone like Luke, who's, you know, the star of darts at the minute and full of confidence, and I just really wanted to put in a good performance and try and win. So yeah, just up my game a little bit. Yeah, I just wish I could do it in a ranking event and get me into the Grand Slam. But I'm playing all right now. I haven't over the last couple of weeks, but fingers crossed now. I think is a couple of Europeans or Pro Tours before the Grand Slam, and hopefully squeeze myself in. If not, then to the qualifiers, I think.
That's interesting. I wonder when was the last time he had to qualify for a Grand Slam? Like,
Yes.
a long time. Like, got to be, hasn't it? Got to be a long time since he had to go through.
He's defending champ, God knows how many times.
Yeah,
but like it's almost, and I appreciate it. I mean, we know he's not had the best couple of years, but the idea of Gezi Price having to qualify for the Slam is odd, isn't it? I mean, let's be honest, he's still ranked 6th in the world. So the idea that number 6th in the world has to go through a qualifier for the Slam is odd, isn't it? You would expect him to be carrying a final or you know, but no.
Yeah, he's still got plenty of time to qualify. There's still plenty of opportunities before that to get to a final or win something. But at the moment, it's interesting. Overall, we touched on the standard of the first round, and in particular the home nation qualifiers, or however you want to dress them up, to the point where we were celebrating that Joe Camito won a leg after having failed to win one before. First time since 2017, I think it was, that an Oceanic representative failed to make it into round 2. Where is darts in Australia at the moment? I've got some clips to play as well. That I dug up from the World Cup, what Damon was talking about as well. But beforehand, going back, the DPA and the DNZ, when they were together as one, which we'll talk on more in a minute as well, they were the flagship tour to be associated with the PDC. They were the one creating all the waves, where arguably now they're bottom of the pile. It's been, look, we know that COVID obviously hit all the associate tours hard, but it's almost as if the DPA haven't recovered to the extent where you look at the Asian tour is flying, the CDC's flying, Nordic and Baltic is flying. It's in a bit of trouble at the moment.
Well, that's, even just looking at the World Series events so far, and you know, whatever you want to call them, local qualifiers, the local lads that played the opening round, we saw a far better fight mounted against PDC elites at the Bahrain Masters. I brought the results back up there just to sort of double check over and see, you know, how close some of those. And again, nobody went through from the Bahrain, but just in terms of the averages that we saw and how tight some of those games were, you know, Michael Smith getting pushed to a deciding leg, Gezi Price only just, Lawrence Ilagan pushing Aspinall to a deciding leg. We got a far more competitive opening round at the Bahrain Masters. Now, again, if somebody had said to you 2 or 3 years ago that you're going to get a much more competitive opening round from Bahrain than you will in Australia, you'd have thought that's bonkers. That'll never happen. That's bananas. You know, we laugh and talk sometimes about the World Series events and what their purpose should be is to go and try and light a spark and you know, increase people playing darts and grow darts in an area. And the level, if the level needs to lift, doesn't it, in Australia at the minute?
I'm not sure it will. It's been high, right? And let's be honest, a lot of it the last couple of years you can attribute to some standout players. Kyle Anderson was part of the Australian 8 for a long, long time. Damon Hester winning an event as well to then go and get a card. Corey Cadby, even the likes of Robbie King, who's been to the World Youth Championships, etc. The severe lack of big name players with experience to come through. Simon Whitlock absolutely hammered. He's one of the most experienced PDC players there is. Losing 6-1 to Peter Wright, or Peter Wright's average 95, whatever it was, performances from the PDC 8, but 84 average from Whitlock all the way back home to do that. It's a sad state, and it's not just in Australia. I know we're going to make that point, but actually this year as a whole, this extension of the Premier League, only 2 players from the cardless group, from players that have local players, have managed to win in the first round. Jeff Smith 6-1 over Michael Smith, and Johan Engstrom 6-5 over Peter Wright in the Nordic Masters, and Peter Wright was dreadful. And he still nearly won that game. Like,
and let's be honest, looking at
backwards, could you imagine a few years ago, right, when you had the likes of Hester and Anderson and Robbie King and Cadby, etc., all involved, and even like,
well, last year you had Darren Penhall as well that played, but he's just given up.
Who was the Englishman as well? Platt.
You know, we've got the draw. We've got we haven't got the draw, but we've got the list of players for the final event in New Zealand. Then you look in there and you think, well, like at the minute, as much as it hurts me to say it, like you couldn't put your 50 pence on Simon Whitlock beating most tour card holders. Never mind, you know, the elite that have gone out there. And so you sort of look and you think, I mean, yes, we know that, you know, Ben Robb's got a game in him. Pooh has got a game in it. Like, we know there's potential, but it's going to be tough for it to not just be another clean sweep, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just like the response, right? Joe Comito is in his 3rd appearance, right? He's qualified in the last qualifier to get there, hasn't won a leg in his 2 previous outings, and the cheer he got for winning a leg. Could you imagine 5 years ago sitting there sarcastically or exuberantly cheering the fact somebody's won a leg in Australia against the pro? Ludicrous. Completely unheard of. These guys are going up there to compete.
Yeah, look, 100%. And look, it goes back to the point. We'll touch on a bit of the in there in a minute. Some good points in the chat room. We're not ignoring them. We'll come on to them in a second. That when they split the DPA and the DNZ to 2 separate tours and you couldn't play in them both, that is now proving to be very costly.
It's hurting that, isn't it?
The standard, when they were all together as one, you've got a bigger pool of players, and 2, you've got better players to push each other as well. The split really hasn't done, I don't think, either any good.
I think the the standout players at the moment are the Kiwis, whether or not that's just a talent thing, a drive thing, or whatever. And I understand separation through COVID when actually New Zealand had some of the strictest rules in the world and Australia weren't too far behind them in terms of lockdown and where you could travel and what you could do. But the minute all that was over, not returning to work together, build a bigger tour, if you've got to fly that far across Australia to play as well, the trip to New Zealand really don't make that much more of a difference.
No, the geography of Australia is banana. Like, it's certainly where New Zealand fits on the side of Australia. But it is bonkers, certainly to those of us that live in like Western Europe. The sheer vastness of getting from A to B over there and getting around, and people travel is very difficult to quite understand the scope of. But I don't think anybody is better off for it. I think anyone's better off for the split. I can't think of a positive. If anyone's got a positive, please educate me. But I can't come up with one.
Yeah, I think Scott's in the chat room, and he's from Wollongong, and he touched on it. That I know that Ben Robb made a point when we interviewed him when he was over last year that the split is done, and the players don't want it either. Is the thing? It'd be like in the CDC having a tour in Canada and a tour in America.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense for the good of the sport in Oceanic and the players.
No, not when it is where it is. Not when you need that game to develop and you need a level of competition. You need to get, or you need to be playing all of the best players that you can play, like that are available to. Which is why the model, the way the CDC are doing things is great, because you haven't just closed that window where if you live in New York, you are just playing people from the United States. They have expanded that across the borders, and the players there are getting the experience of playing all of the best level of competition that is available to them. 50% of that has been closed. I appreciate it's not an accurate percentage, but carving that up in half just doesn't seem like the logical way for the good of the players and the development of the sport. Somebody somewhere might have a reason why it's a good idea, but it's lost on me.
Well, I'm going to play a clip back from the World Cup, and this is quite interesting, and we'll touch on bits and bobs after we've heard this.
Yeah, it's all about trying to grow the game in Oz. It's because it is so far away, and like I said in that last interview, the exposure. It's up to us to keep doing things to keep it fresh, keep it new, Australia are doing these things in darts. This could be a career. This could be, why not make the move? But it's so hard when it's so far away and you don't get that exposure. So how are they to know any different about darts on this side of the world? Yeah. It's absolute massive. Like, you know what I mean? I couldn't make this sort of money as a roofer. So, I've taken that step. I think, what were you, a brickie back?
Yeah, I was a brickie back home, yeah.
So, you know what I mean? We've both taken this path and we've gone for it. So, it's all about inspiring that next generation and, the way social media is and stuff as well. So, that exposure's happening.
We know obviously you still have close ties to back home, Damien. Is that next generation coming through? Are they there in Australia ready to come through?
Yeah, I think they've got a lot of different organisations, a lot of different ones, and it's a matter of pulling them together, but it's not. I don't think that's going to happen. It's so hard, people in their egos or whatever associations are different and stuff like that. So I think it's really up to the person themselves. So if a youngster wants to go for it, then he'll choose the right pathway to go to. All I can do is advise where to go through to the right channels to get to where we're at. And this is the biggest is it going to get, isn't it? So PDC is where you need to be. That's where you need to be at, and that's what I would tell them.
Well, people at the head of darts organisations with egos that can't get on with each other and compromise. It's good to know we are just all the same around the globe, isn't it? There's no fucking difference. No matter where you are on the planet, there's still a bunch of dickheads sat pushing bullshit around the room from one side of the table to the other.
Well, that was the interesting bit for me. There's lots of players, but the egos in the organisations. Look, we know the DPA is long-standing in Australia, but then we've also got the WDF have a presence in Australia. We know the ADC now has a presence in Australia. They're all fighting for the same players. And Raymond Smith is arguably the best player in Australia without a card when he's on. And when was the last time we saw him play in a DPA event? I've just tried looking for some stats and I can't find them. Someone else in the chat room can send me a link of an up-to-date order of merit or something like that. That Raymond Smith is an incredible player that isn't going to travel particularly. And his boy as well, is it... I can't remember my name is Kai.
Yeah, that's him.
Has qualified for Lakeside before. That when they're not involved in stuff like this, there has to be a problem somewhere.
Well, there clearly is, and it's evident on two phases. First of all, you can go into the detail of looking at the quality of the darts that Australia is producing and the amount of people that are coming out and the level at which they're playing and competing with the rest of the world. And you can look at the tour and the mean averages from the tour and how it compares with all the other affiliate tours. Or you can just listen to Damon Hetter, who probably knows as much about darts in Australia as anybody else, who says it's dysfunctional. It's run by people with two big egos. No one can work together. But the difficulty is, and I think Damon's probably absolutely correct in what he says, is that there are great many things that can be overcome, like organizationally. One of the very few that's incredibly challenging is like the egos of human beings. And when each person is the king of their own little kingdom, it's very difficult to ask any one of them to either share that or because it takes some real selfless thinking to think, right, well, I'm going to make these decisions for the good of the game and darts and whatever else, rather than their empire that they are developed and built in a particular small area. So he's probably bang on in terms of how difficult that is to unpick. It's just a shame that that's where it's got to. I suppose the only way it changes is, we talked like over the last couple of weeks about, the ADC and whether they are the dominant amateur organization. Is the only way it changes is you get somebody who goes and God will hate me for making the reference, but Phil probably won't. But you need the Vince McMahon model of taking, of getting to about 1987 and seeing that you've got all these little organizations around the country, each like doing something and selling tickets and thinking, well, no, I just need to get around and, amalgamate all of these into my thing. And then we've got a big thing. So, it might be that the ADC become then, and look at that and develop it. But that's a long way off with a real, having someone on the ground, and I don't know if they do, having someone on the ground in Australia with a real strategy for growth and development and putting a structure in place to then run an organization. Whether anyone's got the appetite for that or whether the ADC's presence there is just affiliations and running, affiliating with some events. There's an opportunity there for somebody to go and try and do the Vince McMahon and amalgamate all these little clusters into one big one, but it's not going to be an easy job because, like I say, you've got to find a way to deal with all the little emperors of their own kingdoms.
Yeah, another one was in the chat room.
Issue in the progression pathway just isn't what it used to be, and what I mean by that is, Gordon Mathers has been over, given it a go, lasted 2 years, went back home. You look at the other side of the pond, Danny Baggish came over, rocked up at the World Championships, does Adrian Lewis in, plays on the tour for 2 years, is no longer a tour card holder, goes home, misses home. Like, all the stories are there to suggest that unless you exceed and you push it at that level where there isn't as much money to go full-time pro to play darts in Australia, so it's still just a hobby, if you live in Australia, which means you have to commit to moving and traveling, a la Simon Whitlock or whoever. Even the most successful player, Simon is probably the exception. But if you look at Kyle Anderson, Kyle always said, I'm here to earn enough money to buy a house and I'm going home. Damon literally did an interview last weekend at the World Series where he says, all of this is possible because of my wife. If she says we're going home, we're off tomorrow. And look at the success that those who have had. They've won World Series events. They've gone on to be major semi-finalists and beyond. They've won ranking events. They've hit 9 darters and whatever else. They've been up on the biggest stages. And yet, at the drop of a hat, they'll be back to Australia tomorrow to be with friends and family. It is a massive, massive commitment for people to put themselves into a position where they are good enough to be a full-time professional dart player, move halfway around the world. It's not like a quick 6-hour flight, 7-hour flight that you can maybe do as a commute from the States if you're desperate to, and you live on the east coast of the States, etc. Flying in that, we've seen Van Dongen attempt it, and Jeff Smith attempt to fly in from Canada, but then have travel issues and not be as financially rewarding as a professional dart player, but he had another career on the side. To go full-time, earn a living from playing darts, you have to get over here, which is a big cost, get yourself settled, which isn't difficult to do, hit the ground running on the dartboard so that you're in the top 32 as quick as you possibly can. And all of that while considering family commitments, traveling home. Christmas, which is one of the biggest times of the year, means you've got absolutely no chance of seeing family because of the World Championships clashing. Now, I know sometimes you say, oh, these are the commitments or these are the things you give up as a sports person, but even footballers get Christmas. At some point, you have to look and go, because there is no off-season either, by the way. So the only chance they really get to go home is to play World Series. And they go home to work for 2 weeks. Everybody wants to be their best mate so they can get a ticket. And after that, they might get a couple of face-up messages. But again, it's just waiting until they're on something big. These guys are human. No off-season, no chance to go home, no chance unless you make a massive jump to earn guaranteed set money to go, right, that's worth moving away from. It is a huge, huge risk. We've seen the Asian region just refuse to take that step up. Now, don't get me wrong, the Asian tour is continuing to grow. They're producing some solid players, but you look at the likes of Christian Perez. Had visa issues sorted, still doesn't commit to everything. Who was it a few years ago? Royden Lamb, tour card, never used it. You've got talent such as Lawrence Alagan that's never even tried to use school. You've got Manlock Lung coming through. Tomoya Goto, we might see some of those players make that jump because they've got English culture that they've grown up with a little bit, where they've got English middle names, so they're more adaptable for coming over, etc. But just giving up everything to go at a time when actually darts is more competitive than it's ever been. The money at the bottom end is possibly the worst it's ever been. And there are so many more opportunities, we're saying, for the amateur player that actually we're telling people that live in this country you don't have to be a professional to make a decent wage from playing darts. Imagine what that's like to somebody abroad with just no guarantee either way.
Oh, yeah, no, look, I don't disagree at all. Whilst you were talking, I was having a look at the Oceanic ADC Facebook page, and the names are playing. They're still around. We've seen Tim Pusey, David Platt. They're all playing. But again, Gigi Mathers is playing in Australia. And Lendl said there about Raymond Smith. He's not playing because of his discontent over organisational stuff. Look, we know that's there. We hear it. Look, there are good people on the ground in Australia trying their nuts off. But it just seems like it's so disjointed at the moment.
But it's that lack of access as well to the Dev Tour, the Challenge Tour. The things that realistically players in the UK take a bit for granted. I'm not saying it's easy for them to access and travel to. Everything comes at a bit of a sacrifice, but it's certainly a damn sight easier to play Dev Tour, Challenge Tour, and to play that more traditional route towards a career in darts if you are in, even Western Europe, never mind just England, but certainly it's that option just isn't open to you if you are in Australia, unless you come over on something like a student visa. You come over here to go to university and you use that in order to look at the dev tour, you know, and I don't know whether that goes, you know, I don't know whether that is a route that people can use. So they can look at studying over here in order to access the dev tour and look at and sample what that's like. But those opportunities are few and far between, and the stars really need to align for someone to access them.
I'm not sure what the funding's like. I know there's a few scholarships available for things like ice hockey, but again, there's 10 professional clubs in the UK that play in the elite league. Some of those have university link up, some of them don't. Nottingham Panthers are quite fortunate that they're surrounded by Nottingham University, Nottingham Trent, and have even had partnerships with Loughborough Business School. Now, if you offer people an opportunity to study at one of those three whilst playing ice hockey, it's going to be far more appealing than Wright is 20 grand salary. But is that as appealing to somebody playing darts? Can you fit that in the lifestyle and that sort of thing? Because part of those are scholarships to bring you in. There's no way university is looking at going, right, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in this 20-year-old Australian, because they're going to see it as, well, we're paying someone to come over and get pissed, because there's still that attitude towards the sport. I've played at university level for a number of years. We played national finals. We've played in front of 1,500 people, in front of varsity events and exhibitions of various other things, and they still refuse to let us stream it. The universities have digital platforms in radio, TV, newspapers, etc., and they refuse to let cameras be live anywhere in case something kicks off. They're still petrified that the sport is 20 years ago, thugs and throwing alcohol and crowd fighting and whatever else. Like, if you can't persuade your own university to live stream a varsity match, then there's absolutely no way they're about to chuck 30 grand at someone to come over and study, who will then need a part-time job, opportunities to practice and study. Not likely. Ideally, look, it'd be fantastic.
Matador, again, more regular opportunities. So here's an idea that could we or should there be, you know, like we've got the split in Q schools. Could they split the challenge and dev tours so there are events closer to Asia and the Oceanic region where there are secondary tour events, like a challenge tour that is 4 or 5 hours flight instead of halfway around the world or stuff like that, to encourage the Asian tour, the Oceanic players to play and things like that. Do you know what I mean?
Could they? Yes. Or they? Not for another 5 to 10 years minimum.
You sort of know, I mean, you know where it'd be, don't you? It'd just be like it'd just be in the UAE, wouldn't it? Like you'd have somewhere, one of the Emirati states, which was, you know, let's be honest, conveniently placed in terms of flights, because you are almost equidistant between the PDC getting their representatives there from Europe and being relatively central in terms of where people traveling in from East Asia, traveling in from Oceania, wherever they're coming from. But if you were to find, and you know, here we go, like somewhere in Saudi or something like that, in order to host a tour, whether that be a development pro tour, whatever that is, you would be able to demonstrate that you are growing the game in and around the Emirati states, which I'm sure there will be certain representatives that will think that's a brilliant idea. But second of all, you have also become far more accessible to everywhere that is east of there on the globe.
Or not even that. You right? I get what you're saying about the Middle Eastern states would be perfect, but right, let's say you have a Q school in the Southern Hemisphere. So I'm playing devil's advocate here now. That you have one in England, one in Germany, one in North America, and one in the Southern Hemisphere. So there's 4 Q schools instead of 2. Then, those that don't qualify, there's a challenge tour, dev tour. Let's just go Southern Hemisphere for the moment. Say there's five weekends. You could have one in the Philippines or that area, one in Western Australia, one in Eastern Australia, and one in New Zealand, and one in Malaysia. For those, yes, look, there's still a lot of travel for that area, but it's not as excessive. Do you know what I mean?
It is. I don't know how much of a tour that ends up being in terms of how many events any one player would be able to realistically play in.
Yeah, like, we're just playing ideas to try and help that area of the world.
Yeah, the more the merrier. Like anything is better than nothing, isn't it? Like, and anything that I firmly believe that the best way to develop darts in any particular area is to have all of the best players playing against each other. Like, that is how competition improves. Like, it's absolutely irrefutable. So anything that you can do to provide the players there more opportunities, tungsten sharpens tungsten, better than iron sharpens iron, I think. More opportunities to play higher level darts and higher levels of competition and be pushed and be under pressure. Like, darts doesn't improve and players don't improve when the same lad is winning 6-0 every week at the local pub. He's not going to get any better. Nobody else is getting any better either. Like, it needs competition, and the more opportunities that create that, no matter what that looks like, the better.
I just look at it and look, darts in the UK and Europe is thriving like it never has. Darts in North America is thriving because the competition is better. They're playing against each other more regularly, more often, where you've got North America, Canada going at each other. I just think that Southern Hemisphere region at the moment is massively suffering when it shouldn't be. When you go back to 2016, 17, 18, it was a conveyor belt. There were massive talents. Look, we talk about Corey Cadby all the time. Look, we know, barring some absolute miracle, we're not going to see him play professional darts again. Right? And we've all said it. The biggest waste of a darting talent ever. So there are obviously players of that ability down there that aren't being seen, aren't being tapped because of accessibility to competitive and regular darts, whether that's lack of tournaments, organisations can't get on. It just seems like it's a crime.
It is. Look, I wouldn't say that there's millions of Corey Cadbys hiding out, by the way. The man was a generational talent. The confidence is like nothing I've ever seen, right? He was different. That's why he excelled. The main worry I've got is just geography is completely against that region. Like, every single time anybody wants to play darts, they've got to go and get on an aeroplane. Even in that tour idea you just suggested, like, Europe is the easiest region in the world to travel between. Because I can travel across 4 different countries in the space of 3.5 hours on the road. You can't do that in North America. You can travel through states, but some of the states are 8-hour drives or whatever else. Like, I think I don't want to shoot down what the North Americans are doing, because I think they're doing a fantastic job. But since darts has taken this boom again over the last few years, and some of the North American players have had success, I think that there's a fascination with it being new a little. So everybody's willing to give it a shot for a couple of years and go, right, I'm going to travel. I'm going to go and see what I can make of this. The Australian and New Zealand region have been there and done that, especially the players that are at the top of the game, your likes of David Platts and Raymond Smith, etc. They've been around for 10 to 15 years now. They've done the hardship of traveling. It's too late for them to jump back to the UK to have a go at the Pro Tour, and they're pretty content with just settling.
Yeah, and the difficulty is, so I was trying to think about other indie, and you try and just think how they've been done it, but then the reality is it just comes back to money and earning opportunities. Because I was thinking about other individual sports, that where a tour is involved, so the likes of golf and the likes of tennis and the various other things where it's not, in theory, you could just practice on your own every day and become the best in the world. Like, you could play golf on your own and you could become the best golfer on the planet. So why would you geographically be behind? But again, I suppose with those other individual sports, there is just opportunities for people to earn a full-time living from that in Australia. They can therefore commit to it full-time and then reach a level where they compete on a world stage. And that's what's missing in darts, is that, like, in order to commit to the level that you need to commit to reach those heights, there needs to be a structure around you to let you almost commit full-time to it, or at least get competitive games regularly. I'm not even saying that you need to, like, we've seen loads of players in this country who've won world titles and it hasn't been their full-time job, but they have been able to find regular and good enough quality competition to get to that level. You know, Glenn Durant won 3 world titles and retained his 9-to-5 job, but because of the systems and structure that was available to him in this country, had managed to find enough competition for, like, formal practice within teams and opportunities that were worthwhile committing that time to reach that level of the game whilst having a full-time job. In Australia and the rest of Oceania, you haven't got either of those. So now, you haven't got a structure that allows you to do it full-time and earn from it. And the same token, you haven't got a system in which you can have it as your sort of, your sort of semi-pro hobby outside of your 9-to-5, but there isn't that level of competition and regular big event competition that could prepare you for that next step, taking your career onto a more international plane.
I think the lack of money underneath is the real issue here. Like you said, it's being able to earn and then practice or get yourself to that level. If you look, even look at the 128, how many of those are actually full-time professional dart players? How many players outside the 128 make a living purely from playing darts that haven't had a tour card or been successful in the past? 1. Maybe 2. And they're both female. Every other male that makes a full-time living from playing darts that isn't a tour card holder has been a tour card holder before, either has savings in the bank, has won a shed load before, or is playing through some other system and is close to retirement age. Your Robert Thorntons, your John Hendersons, etc. Kevin Painter, exhibition work, people that are big names that can still draw in money for playing darts, even if it's not in a competitive environment. But even then, you look at some of them, some of them have gone back to work or got part-time jobs or whatever else. Whereas if you compare that to football, just in the UK, for instance, now I know our football pyramid is absolutely balmy to some people elsewhere, and bear with me, there are, 4 professional leagues?
5. Arguably.
Premiership, Championship, League 1, League 2. 4 full-time football league professional.
National league professional.
The National League are all...
No, that's the point I'm about to make. So the National League, which used to be the conference, the amateur, fucking recreational football, non-league, non-professional, only 2 of those teams aren't full-time professional now. We've effectively grown another professional league. And if you look below that, into the National League North and South, some of those teams have gone full-time professional because the money is so lucrative for these guys to be able to get up the divisions. And that's 5 tiers down from the top level in that sport.
Well, it gets worse.
Imagine playing 5 tiers below PDC darts. So what have you got? Pro Tour, Challenge Tour, County, Super League, Local League. Playing in your pub earns you a living.
But it's worse than that. So domestic, right? Obviously, we've got quite a few Wessex teams around here. I won't name the team or player, but last season there was a team playing in the Wessex Prem, which is it's way down, right? A forward was getting paid £300 a week and 50 quid a goal in the Wessex Prem. He scored 37 goals last year.
Yeah, it's mad, and it is. So, like, again, without boring and going off, I was for a while was a director of a football team in, I'd say 9th tier, like 9th tier football team, but still, as like in the 9th tier, like had a stand, had a proper ground, turnstiles, a stand, etc., etc. And I remember, like, when you become a director, you get to see the books. And the first thing that genuinely blew my mind was looking through and going, we're paying all these people.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, he's like, what would you mean? These lads are having a kick about, aren't they? Like, and they're on. These lads are earning more than some professional darts players. Like,
to be fair, though, you laugh. Josh, some local players get free drinks to play for a team.
Hey, if you play for our pub, you do.
Putting ringers so you can do over your league rivals is not the same as being a full-time professional, though, is it?
No, it's not. But it's an interesting one that I just like to see how it gets fixed, because there are some great talents in Australia and not just New Zealand as well. That whole area that aren't playing to the levels that they should and should be. Like we've touched on Raymond Smith, Gigi Mathers, and everyone like that. That there is talent there to be unearthed, and I just don't think.
Well, in my opinion, you know, like, I'll tell you what solves it, and there might nobody might want this, but I'll tell you what solves it is it needs somebody like a Simon Whitlock or a Damon Heta, someone who has achieved and been on Sky Sports and played all the best players in the world and won things, to go back to Australia affiliated with somebody like an ADC or somebody else, if they really want to then sort of aggressively go at improving darts and looking at how you, because and you need then somebody alongside them who knows how to develop the organizational structure, but it needs a face. It needs somebody with some personality and some credibility, some darts credibility, because nobody's interested in organizational credibility. No one's interested in someone coming and say, look, I used to be the CEO of this company over here. I reckon I could run a great darts organization. It'll be better for you all. Like, as frustrating as that be, no one's fucking interested at all in that. But if you can have that person who's linked arms almost with a Simon Whitlock or a Damon Heta, that has that credibility from the darts world, that can bring sponsorship opportunities, that sponsors and manufacturers, etc., will want to be aligned with, that is the way. That's the route. It's an organisation coupled with a chief executive who's particularly talented and a Whitlock or a Heta who fancies going spending 5 years on a project in Australia to sort darts out.
My problem with that, I love the thought of it, but I still think with a lot of things, it filters down from the very top. And if the top level players or the top 1 to 8 players aren't making enough money to earn a living, then it's not going to filter down sufficiently anywhere else. And the only way that happens is the very top get very, very rich, become very, very greedy for a number of years, and then go, actually, we don't need to earn £2 million prize money for first place. We can go with less than that, and everywhere below that gets a little bit more. But even still, you consider the Pro Tours. The top number keeps going up. That bottom number isn't too great.
Correct.
Yeah, well, we've said that for how long, that has to be sorted out.
But it's all connected. That bottom number becomes a carrot to people abroad to come and give a go.
Oh yeah, 100%.
If that's 500 or 750 for rocking up to a Pro Tour, one, I think we get far less withdrawals than we currently do, even for the likes of Germany, which, look, we were on about travelling earlier for building a South Asia tour or whatever. We can't get off the Pro Tour to Germany, and that's one of the most simple flights in the world. Like, they've been doing it for years, and they still don't want to go. Like, I just don't see how we get others to do it.
There is no argument against paying everybody to turn up to a tour event that's remotely acceptable to me.
So Corey can be the face of webcam darts then.
Been there, done that. So I got a job.
But yeah, look, I'm looking forward to the. Before we go there was a subtle change that I noticed and brought up in the group chat that no one else has seemed to clocked on. they changed the name of this World Series event just gone because it was always the New South Wales. They were always regionalised, the names. And now it's just the Australian Darts Masters, which says to me there's only ever going to be one in Australia. To call it the Australian Darts Masters is quite a broad name change. Do you think we're done with seeing two?
The players don't want to be there anyway. The biggest attraction in the world lost in the final, and his response was, "Are you looking forward to next week?" Which is only the second one, by the way. When there used to be 3 of these, and he went, "To be honest, I can't wait to go home." Van Gerwen is not down under. Aspinall is not down under. Gerwin Price didn't go last year, did he? I made that up.
No, he went last year. MVG's been for 2 years.
MVG, yeah.
We're not expecting Littler coming out with a new patch that says the New Zealand Tourism Board on his shirt.
Peter Wright, let's be honest, if he wasn't this close to the end of his career, I don't think would be there.
So, yeah, it was just a subtle change that I was like, okay.
I think it solidified, I think it solidifies that you're getting 2 in that region, and you're going to get Australia and you're going to get New Zealand. That's what you're getting from now on, I think.
Yeah. Look,
I hope it leaves the door open to then go USA and Canada. I know we've spoken about a number of times, but that would be an even better comparison.
Yeah.
It does, but do you mean like losing an event? Because surely you don't try and shoe on an extra one in. Good God.
Not there, but no, would it surprise me if we see one either on the way or on the way back? No.
Oh, where do you change flights on the way back? Could it be?
There's a lot around that. You can.
I tell you what, people tend to change somewhere in the Middle East, don't they? They're somewhere around the
Hong Kong, Singapore. There's a lot of places to change.
I think I can tell you exactly where those flights will be changing.
But all I'm saying is there's a lot of places you could change in that area to have one on the way back or on the way out there.
It'd fit. I mean, I don't dislike. Again, I don't dislike. I think everybody knows the level of sympathy that I have for darts players, millionaires being overworked. Ooh, my heart bleeds. But I have no problem. It's not a bad idea. I don't think because the calendar's completely bananas, and we know the timing of some of them is. I still find the time in the Bahrain one bizarre because I just think it's too early. It doesn't flow in the darts calendar very well. But I have no because of
the season of the World Series is a fucking joke.
Exactly. But I don't have any problem with when you are going so far, when you're going all the way, 2/3 of the way around the world, to do something on the way there or on the way back in another region. I have no issue with that. If they said they wanted to tag one on, and almost do a 3-week tour. It would be very interesting, though, to see how many players you can retain interested in doing that 3-week circuit.
Could they not fly the other way and go and do South America and then do North America and do 4 or 5 in one big block and give everybody 6 weeks off?
It used to be that they went Shanghai to America before.
Yeah. So could they not go Australia, New Zealand, Brazil?
Tokyo. We've had the Tokyo with Japan Masters in Tokyo.
The fact there isn't an Asian World Series is a joke, but the culture is just so different to what the PDC want to present darts as.
Yeah, we haven't been to Japan since 2016.
Do you remember that, though? It was in a hotel. There was no singing, no chanting. There was a couple of polite claps after a 180, and then everyone went silent again.
Well, Gary Anderson tells a great story about this. The last time we played in Tokyo, on the way out, every table tied all their own rubbish up and put it in a bag and left it in the middle of the table.
Oh, culturally, the Japanese...
But 2016 is a long time to not to not go and then go back. But in 2016, we did Tokyo and Shanghai, but then we did 3 in Australia as well. So the 2016 model of Shanghai, Tokyo, and 3 in Australia, we're never getting back to that.
I think, was it 2017? They went Shanghai to Vegas because Phil wasn't well.
Correct.
Yet James Wade was already new to be there. And then Phil went and won the match play for the last time when everyone else was jet lagged and didn't know their arse from their elbow. He was fresh.
Yeah, they did Dubai in May, and then they did July. In July, they did Shanghai and then on to Vegas, and your 3 Australia events in August. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be mixed up in it. We are going to see something, and I think we'll see it within the next year or 2, a bit of a shuffle. We might. I don't. Again, and this might be controversial, but why are we bothering with the Dutch Darts Masters?
I went there.
I'm not having it.
I've never covered darts abroad, and I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity. But what a fucking waste of time.
But I'm not having it that someone's not going to pay more, really. There must be a more lucrative.
Well, that deal's dead anyway. They're not even using the platform that it was sent over to do.
No, Toto and Viaplay played an absolute fortune to have the Dutch Darts Masters.
Well, good on them.
It was a waste.
But to be fair, we must. Right, where would we like the next World Series? If we're going somewhere new, where would you like to go?
Newcastle.
No.
No, I'll tell you where I'd like to go. I will tell you in one word: Rome. Please.
I'd rather see a European tour there. I don't see why we need World Series in Europe when we have a European tour.
If you want to see an event in Rome, my answer to any time someone says, where would you like to see an event outside of the UK, the answer is Rome.
So I'm torn between 2 countries. I would like to see one in either Canada or South Africa.
South Africa is going to give you all the same challenges as Australia.
The politics in South Africa might be even worse than they are in Australia.
The politics in South Africa are worse than England, and that's saying something, mate.
No, darting politics, not even politics. That's a completely different conversation. The darting politics, Christ on a bike.
South African politics. That's heavy for this time on a Monday night, isn't it?
Well, it's only 9:20, and I think we're running out of things to talk about for a change. So yeah, let's crack on with.
Yeah,
no, we still got bits to talk about. This has been really good. So
Chile,
South America for Chile.
Yeah, that's a big country. That's like Americans calling us living in Europe. Not America. You're meant to be intelligent.
Yes, I'll go with Big Johnny because finally I might get somewhere with a decently sized family area in doing Disneyland Paris.
Bali.
Finally somewhere that might do concessionary price tickets for under 16s, etc.
Costa Rica. Yeah. That's what I was thinking when I said Brazil earlier.
Yes, no, Republic of Ireland, because the biscuits are incredible.
Are they?
Oh, yeah.
Is that a thing? Somebody needs to post me a pack. Somebody post me some biscuits. Get in touch.
Oh, Antarctica.
Oh, can you imagine people? Can you imagine people moaning about the breeze?
Yes. Yeah. That would be quite funny. But no,
it's a draft. It's minus 47.
But before we leave the World Series, obviously we do go on to New Zealand this week, and I am looking forward to seeing Ben Robb and Johnny Tatter come in. I'm looking forward to those two in particular.
And as much as we've laughed, not laughed, that's not unfair. As much as we've sort of got stuck into the level of competition that has come at the PDC's A team on these events throughout the year, we do know that there are players within that set from the PDC elite that can be got at. So that, I'm not being funny, if this draw and you pull, a Peter Wright against a Ben Robb, like, there are players there that can be beaten. We've also seen some of the elite players throw an absolute stinker as well. Ben Robb has got a game, and with the right draw, he could do a bit, as could Johnny.
Yeah, look, 100%, and I'm looking forward to it. So that should be good. Challenge Tour this coming weekend. It's a big weekend because after this one, the next Challenge Tour isn't till November, if I've read that right. So this is kind of the last chance for people to push their way up the order of merit in terms of getting top-ups, playing themselves into contention, because, look, we know being near the top of that Challenge Tour at this time of year can be lucrative because of what goes with it. We know that the big boys aren't going to play in everything.
Yes.
And look, you look at it at the moment. Danny Jansen is still top, as is Christian Kistin second. Those two had a great start to the year. Danny Jansen not playing as well right now. And then we've got underneath Andy Bolton, Connor Scott, Wesley Plaisir, John Henderson, and Darryl Pilgrim, all playing relatively well at the moment. So you look, they will all think this is an opportunity to go there, do what I need to do, and set myself up. It's a massive weekend, I feel, on the Challenge Tour this coming weekend.
Yeah, we're seeing some really solid performance. The three names that stand out in terms of how that's translating and how the top-ups are working, like Plaisir, Jensen and Scott, who are all performing very, very well on the Pro Tour because they've played themselves into those top-up positions, and they're not just making up the numbers, those three players. They are as competitive on the Pro Tour as any other tour card holder has been this year. Those three players will go to Minehead. It's bonkers because at the minute they're still playing trying to get on the Pro Tour, but the three of them will go to the Players Championship finals. I think Connor Scott is an absolute superstar. I think there's still loads and loads to see from him. Wesley Plaisir continues to surprise. Every time I think he's dropped off a bit, he does something bonkers. There's just when you go further out and you go out to top 10, top 12, there's so much talent in there that whilst there's far more opportunities, isn't there? There's a lot more opportunities. Anybody in that top 20 can play themselves into a top-up place and then go and do a bit. It's a very watchable tour this year. I think the Challenge Tour. We like it as an addition because it's good and it gives people that opportunity to come and play and earn some money. But the way that it's playing out this year is becoming very watchable and entertaining, isn't it, to follow along with?
I mean, it's a nightmare for the players trying to earn a living through it, but at the same time, the top 11 are separated by one event win.
Yeah.
We've never seen it that tight. We've never seen it that tight.
It's just that depth of talent, though, isn't it? Like there is such a depth of talent at the top. A shame that only two of them will receive a tour card because you're going to see some very, very strong, like seasonal performances from the Challenge Tour players, and you can see how tight it is. There are players there that are going to miss out by like one early round game. That's where, and they're going to miss out on a tour card. And we know that the alternative is a very, very different lottery of how to access that tour. But I just think it's again certainly the three players that I highlighted that are playing very well on the Pro Tour or have played really well on the Pro Tour this year, creating opportunities and moving themselves up the rankings. But a big week, but a really big events coming up because it's going to be really important that it's going to be tight.
Well, as well, you look at people like Plaisir that it's not beyond the rounds. He can get in the top 64 before the end of the year. So he needs to be in that top up list so he goes to the Pro Tours. Because at the moment, he's going to the World Championships. He's going to the Players' Championships in Minehead.
But he's not, and not only just, he's pissed it. He's comfortably going to Ali Pali. Like, comfortably.
Oh, 100%.
He's flying. Like, and again, like, absolutely flying. It's really impressive. It really is impressive. And again, like, you know, Connor Scott is currently $1,000 off a spot at the Palace. Like, that's doable, isn't it? If he stays in those top up positions, he's going to get the nod. If he's in the top 3, top 4, he's going to keep getting the phone call. we could see 3 Challenge Tour players just qualify for Ali Pali just by nature of those call-ups, which is mad, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely bonkers the way it's played out this year. But again, we say those challenge tours are so tough. 2 in a day. You have to really be on it for these 5 events because they are huge.
You need to be on it for the majority. Nobody can be on it for all 5. It's not possible. It's too physically demanding. And I think that's why it's so tight as well. The quality is so good at the top end of this level. And it's just impossible to go and do it for 5 events. That being said, you look at the Dev Tour and Nyman's won nearly 20 grand and Bo Greaves has earned the same amount in less events on the Dev as Danny Jansen has, who's top of the Challenge Tour. But it just shows what a war of attrition that these Challenge Tours are.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's mental, but it's going to be interesting because again, the pressure is now on that. Look, I know we're only in August, but people can now see. You know, like we talk about Blackpool being on the horizon. Now, let's be fair. Ali Pali is on the horizon. We've turned the corner now.
Well, I thought you were going Minehead there.
for these players, Ali Pali is on the horizon for some of them.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't help but think about it.
You know, it's funny, you know, because a while ago when we sat, didn't we? And we had Connor Scott on and we discussed with him where he was at the time. And if I remember rightly, when he was a tour card holder at the time, but around this time of year, we sat on this stream and had a chat with him. And he was at the time like just outside of the spots for Ali Pali, and he was in the green for going to Minehead. Now, without a tour card, he finds himself in exactly the same position. In fact, I think he might be closer than he was when he had his tour card. So once again, he's in the green. He's going to go to Minehead, and it's easier to defend from the green than be trying to make your way up there. And he's like within shooting distance of the Palace, which again, like he's exactly where he was when we sat on the stream talking to him as a tour card holder.
Better off.
Bonkers. Yeah, because he's got to play all this. He's won loads of other stuff. He's played amazing all over the place.
2 weeks and he's already qualified for the leg side if he wants to go and play in that one instead. If he doesn't get to Ali Pali.
And as I say, I really like her. I think he's an absolute superstar. But I just think it's completely mad that we sat here and talked to him as a tour card holder. And he's now, even in terms of PDC events, in an equal, if not better situation without his card for PDC events. That's mental, isn't it?
Fun fact, by the way, Connor Scott is the only player in, a year and a half now of working at the Super Series that when I've been refereeing refers to me as Gob. Everybody else is Jack. He's the only one. I see that happen about 2.5 weeks ago. I was like, hang on a minute, that's a bit weird. Everyone else calls me Jack here.
Not like when you were Billy and he calls you
even Neil.
The politest kid I've ever met.
But even Neil calls you Jack.
I can't repeat what Neil calls me.
So yeah, look, it's a huge one for all these coming up, and it's going to be a real intriguing one. But yeah, look, Connor Scott is in an ideal situation right now where come November he's going to have a lot of lot of choices to make by the look of it, which is good.
I mean, there couldn't be a better position to be in, could there, than having that choice. You know, the challenge that a lot of players have is they haven't got the choice. They're having to just play either anything they can, or they're having to desperately play events to try and get the money they need to do various things. Like, it must be a very nice position to be in to have that ability to choose and think, well, I can play that, but I don't have to play that. I can go to Minehead, but I'm not committed to do this. Like, he could play Minehead and Lakeside. Like, he can have those combinations available to him potentially. Never been a better time to not have a 2-card, is it?
This time last week, it was obviously broke that Adrian Lewis is going to come back and play some darts. And then he did the Club 501 with Wayne Mardle literally the day after. Has teased the idea after speaking with Barry at the fishing, he may go and do the World Championship qualifier. Saying the right things, or do we think that we could see Jackpot rock up on the Monday after Minehead and potentially try and qualify for Alexandra Palace?
Somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, I was going to say probably somewhere in the middle of both, and I don't know if anyone, including Adrian, knows the answer to that. I think he's definitely saying the right things. Again, this isn't his first rodeo. He knows how to play the game, and he knows what to say, and he also knows that he's under a number of new contracts and affiliations, and he's obligated to appear a certain way and at least appear like he wants to pick some darts up at some point. So there are certain things that he will know that he needs to say to play the game, and Adrian's not daft. But I'm just, as a fan, I'm just hopeful. I genuinely don't want to get too excited about it, because I'm a huge fan of Adrian Lewis, and I don't want to get myself too excited and without justification. I'll believe it when it comes, and I'll enjoy it. I hope so. Is I suppose all I have on that.
Yeah,
part of that is to keep people like me quiet who said he should give his card back, because obviously that's the final opportunity to use it.
But I still think that's
then fair enough.
For me, I think he's earned the right to decide on the morning if he wishes. Like, he's earned it, and that's part of. He's got his tour card. There's a load of things that come with it. There's a lot of shit that comes with it. One of the benefits is it allows you to turn up to that event, and literally for me, he can have his breakfast on the morning and then make his mind up after that, and he's earned the right to do that.
Yeah, Jamie, I know you said that there must be a reason he didn't interview with Wayne. It was sheer luck that his appearance at Club 501 had been booked in for 3 or 4 weeks. The timing just fitted incredibly well. That interview with Wayne had been penciled in for some time. But I'd love to have earwigged the conversation between him and Barry.
I think there would have been a lot of laughing and ingested. Yeah.
I'm not in a bad way. I would love to have heard it.
I don't think it would have been that serious a conversation. I think AD's doing very well there, playing the game. The concern for me is, didn't look. I know it's different. I know it's not the same environment. It's not competitive. It's whatever. But I did watch all that episode. I watched all the episodes. I think it's actually been a really nice piece of content that they're producing. There was elements of the throw that just weren't the free flow and what they were. Look, he's not competed for a long time. You can't take it just to that. But if he comes back and plays at the same level or below to what he was playing before he decided to take a break, coupled with that, and coupled with the fact that the statement, the announcement to return to the game, etc., are all coupled around rebuilding and going again. As brilliant it would be to see him in that qualifier and play, and AD Lewis back playing darts is brilliant. There's a big concern for me that he just gets hammered.
Yeah, possibly.
Do you think? I would like to think, because again, what you see, you're much better at me than I am at looking at people's throws and spotting what's on and what's not and what's changed and what hasn't and what's right. But I would like to think that nobody knows what's going on with Adrian's darts probably better than Adrian. Like he's the expert on his throw, and you sort of feel or you hope that he wouldn't put himself in the situation unless he felt like he could find that game. He's also got some time. Like that's the other thing is that there is time. He's not made an announcement that he's going to go and play something in a fortnight's time. He has got time to practice, play, get into what he feels is a good level of form. But you would hope that he feels that he is within reach of something near what he considers to be his A game, because you would I think, like Adrian again, like it's not his first rodeo, and he has bore witness to many a player having another bash at it and not being able to recreate any of that. And you would like to think that he doesn't want to replicate and become another name of that list, of which is it's long, of people that should have just left it alone and couldn't resist. But I would like to think that he's self-aware enough that he knows that game is within his grasp, certainly in the time he's got.
I hope the game being within his grasp 100%. The elements of knowing his throw better than anyone else, I think it's time for him to get some sort of coaching, and he will really be the litmus test for top-level coaching for players that have been there and done that. Because for me, I see a lot of similarities in the Adrian Lewis game right now to do with Glenn Durrant's demise. For the last couple of years, when AD has been declining, so many equipment changes, so many subtle little changes to throwing pace, rhythm, to setting the action, elbow position, and all of that, rolling the dart in his hand. He started to think, and what he needs now is for someone else to do the thinking for him, tell him what to do, and AD go and do it.
See, I wonder if that discussion was had with Wayne off camera.
Similar, yeah. The concern and issue is that somebody so natural can be then overcoached. I think he needs to take on board some things and find some things himself. You've got to get a balance, because if you look at players, we're all massive supporters of coaching within the sport and think it should be there a lot more work with psychologists and people who are aware of actions, whatever. But what they need to do is find when you're at your best, find you a couple of ways of getting back to that best if something goes wrong, but then leave it alone. And it feels like, as big as we are on coaching, if you look at players who have openly admitted they've been to see a coach, they've had a short span of success and then it's gone to shit. Whether that be through injury or something like Devon Peterson's one of the standout ones who spent a lot of time away, accelerated him to one of the best players in the world for a period of about 6 weeks. 180 hitting machine, lost in a Pro Tour final, avenges that to Going Price in full flow in, Going Price, not lost the plot yet, doesn't know what an Instagram story is. Final on a European tour. And the worry is that AD just ends up tangled and lost and overthinking and confused, and it all goes to pot. And perhaps that trying to rebuild this away from the Pro Tour will be a good thing for him. But it's how much pressure he then puts on himself to make that jump straight back on. You look at the likes of John Henderson. Fantastic body transformation, really worked on keeping himself in shape. Took a bit of time to get used to his throw again. Now that he lost a lot of weight, muscle memory, etc., cost him about 3 to 4 months, the equivalent of what it would have been to save his card. Now playing some fantastic darts, seniors world champion, been off the tour for 2 years, struggling to get back on there. It's not easy for players to lose the card and just walk straight back into that room anymore.
I look at, obviously, I've followed the Adrian Lewis career for a long time, as you have. There's a couple of things. One, when he was still being managed by Keith, look, we all know that went sour anyway. But in that period, there were changes to the action which were horrific when he tried to slow it down instead of being instinctive. Adrian Lewis has always been one of the most instinctive players I've ever seen, just playing off of rhythm and what felt right. And when he started mucking around with it, it didn't work. And the other thing that we all notice and we all laugh when other players use their old darts when they move manufacturers. When Adrian kept going back to the old unicorn darts that were so natural to him, because you could see it a mile off. They were that worn. Every time he went back to them, you could see it. I don't think he ever really felt comfortable with anything else in his hand, ever.
The Target Gen 2s were...
They were close.
Replicas, yeah.
They were close, but I don't think he ever felt truly 100% at ease with them like he did the unicorn ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm not just saying that, and I know that because I've got 3 sets of them. They are a beautiful dart.
Oh yeah, no. Look, they're a bit like MVGs when it was like they've almost replicated Old Faithful. But Adrian never. I don't think he might say different, but looking at it from the outside in, I don't think he ever felt 100% confident because he chopped and changed so much, and you all of a sudden see him go back to the unicorn ones. And I remember speaking to him. I think it may have been at Minehead, and I said, "How are?" And he was like, "They're that worn. They've got no grip left, but I still go back to them."
I mean, yeah, look, we saw that with Michael, didn't we? When he was making that transition and change, he's just so natural. What I would absolutely love is for AD to pick up the phone right now or tomorrow. Probably asleep. It's getting on a bit. Mr. Phillip, we both have an incredibly important 4 months ahead of us. Let's do it again. Because what we don't want is Phil Taylor's career to go down with a whimper. 2 seniors events to go. He's recovering. He's on the way back up, hopefully. Had hip operation and eyesight, and then God knows what else Phil's had done to him in the last couple of years. I was going to compare him to Katie Price then, but not appropriate today. Disgusted. I've lost my train of thought there. Incredibly important time for Phil Taylor. Important for Adrian Lewis just to get that love back in the game. And I think that bit between his teeth and the way that you do that is that bit of friendly rivalry. The apprentice and the master. I'm still better than you. I can do it better than you. Blah, blah, blah. Go and maybe not beat the living daylights out of each other like you used to, but go and reignite that spark a little bit. You know, if it's once a week, once every fortnight, set yourself a couple of hours and go and play darts with each other.
Lendl, do you mean as in the PDC 8 players? If so, the 8 players are on appearance fees, yes. They openly say that themselves. Do I know the fees? No. Do I think that some are paid more than others? Absolutely. Yeah. So the top 8 get their appearance fee plus the prize money. But yeah, look, it'll be interesting with AE to see really where he is and everything like that. And I'm looking forward to it. Right, week in darts. Let's go to the Super Series. Marvin van Velzen, what a week for that young man. Was sensational throughout 9 darter and booking his place in Champions Week. He was superb, boys.
Yeah, magnificent. Much improved, but there was clearly a game plan, an approach, and I'm sure Van Velzen's time this week compared to the previous weeks where he's played in the Super Series. There is that moment of growth where he's decided to set his first dart, where he's so much more comfortable ensuring that that's in the right place. If that goes, then the next can follow, and it's free flowing, and it is really wonderful. But that setting of that first dart has been so key for him. Like, he's rubbed up a few of the the players last week the wrong way by being a bit talkative in the chat room and a few little come-ons and cheers on stage and whatever, but he's done absolutely everything right last week. He's played superbly, banged in a 9-darter, qualified through finals night. He's got an absolute army of fans. Back in 2 weeks' time, and if he plays like that, everyone's got a chance in Champions League, clearly, but he looked really, really sharp.
The 9-darter was lovely.
100%. Where is it? Yeah, look, Jamie's right. Modus crowd do love a random Dutch lad.
Yeah.
The difference is the Modus crowd love a random Dutch lad when they've. Marvin bought them not with him this time.
Yeah.
They all travelled and pre-booked it on the basis that they thought he'd get to finals night. It was a big, big gamble, but he went and did it anyway. The random lot are a bunch of local lads that took a liking to Jimmy a few months back. They were the same lads that were backing Conor Heenahan 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So if Conor had got through, it would have been an interesting Champions Week to see who they rock up to support.
100%.
But yeah, they are a fantastic bunch. They make loads of noise and effort. They're really respectful. They turn up, they have a great night. They pick someone on the night and go, right, you're our guy. We're getting you through this. And it is brilliant.
Yeah. Going back to the other point, Chris, it's business class, not first class.
Hey. As it should be. As it should be.
But yeah, no, look, Super Series was really, really good. Only 2 places left in Champions Week. It was good to see Steve West back playing today. Look, there was a bit of rust there. That was expected. But it was just nice to see him back playing today.
You feel this is going to be a tight week as well, doesn't it? Like I think it's a really good mix. I think we could see some really interesting twists as the week develops. I know as it stands right now, Wayne Jones has sort of raced way ahead, but he's certainly out in front. But loads and loads of potential as the week develops, that group.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the bands. Week 13 looks really good. I think you mean week 12, Tom. Week 12 is okay. A few cheeky little returns in there at the back end of the week, but I can't say too much more. I'll get bollocking, I think is the official phrase for it. What is interesting about the Champions Week lineup so far, though, is that everybody is either 31 or under or over 50. There's nobody in that mid-age, mid-range prime of their career, shall we say, with that experience. They're either seniors players that are enjoying the rerun again. You've got Jim Long and Richard Ehrig and Paul Hogan, etc. Or you've got youngsters that are giving it a bash in Van Veltzen. And the oldest one of the young bunch is Tom Sykes at 31. And he's been playing darts at this level for, 18 months?
Yeah.
So he's still young enough for me to go, right, he's there first time. Jim Van Schie, promising youngster, been away, he's 30. Everybody else is under that. And Connor Scott, 27. Like, there's the absence of anybody 31 to 50 is really strange for me when you consider former champions and former players that played in finals week, your likes of Chaz Barstow, your Rob Owens, all of those players that have notoriously had success at the Super Series, Colin Osborne.
As with every other aspect of society, middle-aged men are just terribly underrepresented. I'm sick of it.
To be fair, I'm already. He may go and win. He may go and get his tour card back, but if he doesn't, I am buzzing to see Graham Usher back. I'm not going to lie.
Yes.
No, I hope he goes back to Q School and gets his card back. But if he doesn't, I can't wait to see Graham Usher back at the Super Series. No, Mark Mace is still there. I think Mace is actually on next week. But look, he's got a lot going on with the Prince of Wales pub and everything else he's doing at the moment. So, but no, you'll still see Mace there.
Chris is on every session next week.
Nice pub, that.
Oh, it's a great pub.
Lovely little pub.
Yeah, if you're in the Ilkeston area, the Prince of Wales is an absolute belter of an old-fashioned pub.
If you're not in the area, there's a village hotel a free Uber away. Like, still go anywhere.
What do you mean more Northeast players? The Northeast are like the second most represented region at the Super Series. It's either very, very close to Portsmouth or live fucking miles away that way. There's nobody in the middle.
I'm off work. I'm off work next week. You know, I could totally have a blast down
For finals?
I finish work on Friday, and we're going to go away for a bit next week, the family. But I reckon the back end of the week, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I think I've got absolutely nothing to do. Ooh.
I am reffing all of week 12, Daniel.
Well, that means I've also got a designated driver.
That was meant to be that for you last weekend.
Even better.
Yeah, that's a good point, Sam. But we did news on yesterday that Danny Baggish has handed back his CDC tour card due to work and personal commitments that he's got, and doesn't feel he can fulfill that. Look, it's a shame that Danny is a huge talent that, again, I don't think we've seen the best of. But look, he has to do what's right for him and his family. So I completely get it. Hopefully we'll see him return one day.
Yeah, no, I agree with most of that. The difference, I think we did see the best of Danny, and I think that's why he's not still at that level or beyond. I think he took advantage of not a great Adrian Lewis. We saw glimpses of what he might be able to do, but he never really exploded with an A game anywhere. Is that fair to say?
There was glimpses.
I think, but that's what it was. It was glimpses, wasn't it? We never saw.
It wasn't anywhere near as
consistent.
Like we can sit here and go, right, players need to drag up their B game. We've seen their A game, but his A game just didn't appear anywhere near often enough, or his A+ game, or his special game that goes, right, that level's within him somewhere.
But that's not just what we've seen.
How many times he's put a performance in like that, whereas you see someone who's having a lot of success right now, or relative success to what he's had previously in his career. Luke Woodhouse. We saw glimpses of what Luke Woodhouse can do for the last 5 to 10 years far more often than what we saw Danny Baggish do in 2 years.
And also, what that sort of inconsistency of flashes of a game that can compete is not. It wasn't just what we saw when he was on tour over here. Like that has carried on within the CDC and on, in the North American tour as well, where like he hasn't been, if you like, the PDC tour card holder that's then gone and dominated the affiliate tour when he hasn't got a tour card. Like there are much better players, or there are players that are reaching a level more consistently than he is regularly on that tour. Yeah, I think Gob's right. I think we probably potentially did see the best of him, which was lovely to watch.
100%. Excuse me. There was a question here. Where was it? Cheers, Owen. Thank you very much. Have I gone part? No, done that one. So yeah, get your question. Oh yeah, that was it. Big Johnny.
The list is that. It gave me proper chuckles. That properly tickled me. That I just thought it was one of the most absurd and hilarious. So 385 players, right? I've already qualified. I am convinced we must be on the list. I don't know how we couldn't be. I think Billy's on the list. I don't know how again it's like, but also some of the names that are on there, I like. It's genuinely, it's a remarkable list, and full credit to them for putting it together. Fucking hell, it must have took bloody ages to type it out. Just the effort that's gone into typing 385 names. What an effort!
100%. It was just like wow.
Yeah, impressive, very impressive. I mean, I don't know. Some people are struggling for hobbies, and there's some remarkable and like proper blasts from the past as well. I'm convinced some of these people haven't picked up a dart for 10 years. Some of them.
More than that, I'd say, as Warren says, Rod Harrington was on the list.
Oh, Rod Harrington is on the list. Absolutely, he is. Yeah. Yeah. There's. I mean, yeah, 385. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
Matt Edgar's qualified. I know he's on the list.
Yeah,
he's
going as well.
Danny Baggish is on the list.
What is the criteria? Is it all ex-winners?
Have at some point purchased a set of darts.
I genuinely thought there was a serious point being made there. You got no.
No, I don't know. I don't know how Danny Baggish has qualified. They can't have had 385 winners. Fucking hell. Like, some people won it multiple times. They'd have to go back to the hundreds of years. They're like Tudor times.
I just wondered what the criteria was because
I assume Thomas Cromwell's qualified, and it's not. It's that one. It's the one I do facts about, not the current darts player. That's right. Like Thomas Cromwell will be on the list, but not the current dart player, the original.
have all ex-WDF/BDO world champions been invited?
Yeah.
Oh, could you imagine if Be On Your Way rocked up?
Right. Do you know what? There's names on this list, and I'm not. These are made up names. There's some proper. There are definitely made up names in here.
I'm just thinking if some of the ex-world champions like, this is my territory. Be on your way.
Dennis Priestley, he's on there.
Again, he can't even throw.
Yeah, Dennis is invited. They've extended the. I mean, it's genuine. I mean, it's a remarkable list. Kai Fang Lung's on the list. Joker John O'Shea's on the list.
He's going as well, I think. He wants that trophy back.
Yeah, that's a different trophy though, isn't it?
It's going to have to be 11 world champions to get it, I think.
Colin Monk's on the list. Oh, man, could you imagine?
Half of them as well champions, though, does he?
Oh, Colin Monk.
It's a genuinely amazing list. And like I say, the effort that someone has typed out those 385 names and good on them, because
they've copied and pasted them from the previous edition and added a couple more that have qualified since.
I swear they've gone.
It's like winning the Masters in golf. Like getting to a certain level guarantees you entry for life.
Yeah. Right then, last couple of questions then before we rock up for today. Get them in.
Jamie Caven on there for the 1993 Youth World Masters. That's fucking brilliant.
Paul Lim.
There is a point where the list stops being alphabetized. Like, it's an alphabetic list for a bit, then it stops being alphabetized. And clearly,
someone's just got our bollocks to this.
Yeah, and people are just shouting across the office, like, add Colin, what? Add Colin on as well, he's text. Like,
that would have been the original list, wouldn't it? And then they've not sorted it on a spreadsheet, so they just keep typing them out underneath.
yeah, he's gone to he's put 4 of his mates in for an April Fool, just like stuck it out, there you go, you're playing in the Masters. Have you ever been to Budapest?
Yeah. I think that this is a good one from Bob. Top 5 individual days of the darting calendar.
Oh, right.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a brilliant question, that.
I'm a fan of that.
It's got 5 days on the darting calendar.
1, 2, I've got 4.
Right. Are we all in agreement that day 1 of the UK Open is on the list?
What? Yes, 100%. Definitely. It's very, very close to the top as well. Quarterfinals day in Blackpool has to be on the list. Or it's on my list anyway. Quarterfinals day in Blackpool's elite.
Yes, Big Johnny, I'm with you there. Last day of Q school.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. Last day of Q school.
I'm with you on that one.
No. The last day of stage 1 is better than the last day of actual Q school.
No, I disagree.
No, there's too many certainties by the time you get to that end.
Oh, do you know? Yeah, I enjoyed doing the stream more. Last day of stage 1.
Yeah.
Now the Friday night, Chris. The Friday night in Blackpool quarterfinals night. I know there's 2 quarters the night before. It's more about the full experience.
So yeah. World Championship final day is still there for me just because of what it is.
Day 1 of the Players' Championship finals, if you're there. See, this is the difficulty with this question, is it needs like analysis because the answers are different if you are present than if you're watching on the telly.
The question was yours. What are your 5? So if you're there, put it in.
Right. So day 1 of the Players' Championships is in the 5. Day 1 of the UK Open is in the 5. I'm not far off putting day 2 of the UK Open in the 5. Day 1 of both of those events is in there. The Friday night quarterfinals of the match play is there. The Premier League in Newcastle is there. And what's going to be my 5th? Oh no, 5th would be last day of stage 1. There you go. There's my 5 favourite days. Very personal though.
Gob?
I've literally got 2 at the minute. I've got UK Open day 1 and Q School stage 1 day 4.
Right, I'll go while you're thinking then. I'm going UK Open day 1. Premier League night in Dublin. World Championship final. Just because it's the world's. The World Championship draw. And Friday night at Blackpool. And Sam, that is the right answer.
Correct.
Go on then, Gob.
I've nabbed your world's final. I just can't think of the other 2. I don't really know what else I like. I like events. I don't pick the specific days.
Oh, it wasn't hamstrung to be PDC events, was it?
No.
I was thinking of doing something like
Nottingham Varsity is one of the best nights on the darting calendar. Ask any of the pros that have played in that event. Fucking unbelievable. It's the best exhibition he's ever done in his life.
Yes, I can't put on there, but if you want to, put it on.
I was tempted to low-key push the Barbican. See, like, we can have some seniors in there. Seniors at the York Barbican. That's that's a good day in the calendar. Excellent day of darts.
Nottingham Varsity. I really like Champion of Champions Day 1 in Blackpool.
Oh, I've attended one of those, and it was particularly good.
4 quarterfinals, 8 players. You get 4 decent games, decent format, only 1 session, so I can go out in Blackpool afterwards. Bliss.
Superb, everyone. Like that. Well, we are in Fergie time anyway, so everyone, really enjoyed tonight's show. It was good. Thank you very much for everyone in the chat room as well. You have absolutely rocked it this evening, so thank you very much. If you haven't yet, drop us a like and subscribe. This will... Oh, Torrelinos. Good call, Malachi. But everyone, thank you very much. If you haven't yet, drop us a like and subscribe to all our social platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, YouTube, TikTok, you name it. We're on it. But it's been an absolute pleasure as always, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
Bye.